Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Thanks so much for tuning in today. We've got a brand new story that I know you won't want to miss. So let's dive right in. Now, I'll be honest, I never thought I'd be sharing this story. For the longest time, I refused to believe it could happen to me. My name is Alex, and if you've ever been in a relationship where things suddenly start falling apart, you'll want to stick around for this. When most guys hear their partner say, "I need some space," they panic. If you ever find yourself in that situation, let me tell you one thing. Don't beg, don't argue, play it smart. Let me take you back to where it all began. 15 years. That's how long Sam and I had been married. We weren't perfect, no couple ever is, but I thought we had a solid foundation. We'd been through our fair share of struggles, arguments, and highs and lows. But at the end of the day, we were a team, or at least that's what I thought. But then things started changing. Conversations became shorter. She started staying up late, glued to her phone, the screen lighting up her face in the dark. When I asked her what she was doing, she'd brush it off, just scrolling, or talking to a friend. At first, I shrugged it off. Everyone deserves their privacy, right? But the more I watched, the more it started to add up. She began laughing at messages she wouldn't share with me. She started guarding her phone, tilting the screen away from me, and setting it face down when she left the room. There were nights when she'd get a text, and instead of replying right away, she'd pick up her phone and leave the room. That's when the uneasy feeling started creeping in. If you've been with someone long enough, you can tell when they're acting differently. I kept telling myself I was overthinking it. Maybe I was blowing things out of proportion. But deep down, I knew something was off. One evening, she sat me down with this serious look on her face. I'll never forget the way she looked at me that night. We'd just finished dinner. She put her fork down, took a deep breath, and looked me straight in the eyes. "Alex, I need some space to figure things out." The words hit me instantly, but my body went numb. No reaction, just a sinking feeling in my chest. But I didn't show it. I just nodded slowly and leaned back in my chair. "Space, huh?" I repeated, trying to keep my voice neutral, almost like I didn't care. I made sure not to sound mad, not to sound hurt, just curious. If there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that the one who stays calm holds all the power. She hesitated, clearly not expecting me to take it so lightly. That's when I realized this wasn't just about needing time to reflect or find herself. Something else was going on. My gut told me that much. And when your gut speaks, you listen. I asked her what exactly she meant by space. Did she need time alone in the house? Was she planning to go somewhere? Was she feeling overwhelmed? Her responses were vague. "I just need to figure things out." Figure what out? I watched her closely. The way she avoided eye contact, the way her fingers fidgeted. Right then, I made a decision. I wasn't going to ask her 100 more questions. She had already made it clear she wasn't going to answer. No, instead, I was going to find out the truth for myself. People often say, trust your partner. Well, I say trust your instincts. And my instincts were screaming at me. So, over the next few days, I started looking into things. Sometimes the truth isn't buried deep. It's just sitting there, waiting for someone to notice. I checked her phone records first. Nothing too drastic. Just a simple look to see if there were any recurring numbers. And sure enough, one stood out. Then, I took a closer look at her social media. I paid attention to the little things. Who was liking her posts? Who was commenting? More importantly, who was she suddenly following again? That's when I saw it. A familiar name. A name I hadn't heard in years. Her ex-boyfriend from high school. The guy she dated before me. The guy she used to talk about like some unfinished teenage love story. And now, there he was, back in her life. At first, I didn't panic. I told myself it could be harmless. Maybe they just reconnected. But when I saw the messages, the long chats, the heart emojis, the remember the good old days texts, things that should not be in a married woman's inbox, I could have confronted her right then and there, but I didn't. I didn't say a word about what I found. Because here's the thing, when someone asks for space, they've already made their decision long before they speak the words. They just want you to give them time so they can feel less guilty. But here's where things get interesting. When a woman asks for space, she expects you to chase her. She wants you to call, text, show up with flowers, and ask what you can do to fix things. So I did the opposite. I gave her the space she wanted. If she didn't talk to me, I didn't talk to her. When she did speak to me, I kept it short, polite, but distant. No coldness, no passive-aggressive comments, just controlled indifference. And since I wasn't wasting my time begging for her attention, I focused on myself first. I stopped going to the gym, and instead, I hit hit the weights harder than I had in years. It wasn't about impressing anyone, especially her. It was about the satisfaction of putting my energy into something that was just for me. Then, I upgraded my wardrobe, buying new clothes that actually fit well, and threw out the old, worn-out stuff. The thing was, she never even noticed. Fresh haircut, clean shave. Every morning, I looked in the mirror and saw a man who wasn't waiting around to be chosen. But the best part? I rekindled my social life. I started going out with friends again, guys I hadn't seen in months, even years, because I'd spent so much time focusing on my marriage before. I started accepting invitations instead of making excuses. By Friday night, I was out enjoying myself, not sitting at home wondering where she was. See, Genevieve had her little support system, her friends who told her she deserved to be happy, who listened to her vent. But those same women, they noticed the change in me right away. When I'd run into them, I wasn't the bitter, heartbroken husband they expected. I was confident, relaxed, and unbothered. I cracked jokes, smiled more, and kept the conversations light. And they noticed. At first, it was just a quick glance, a lingering smile, and the occasional, "Wow, you're looking great these days." Then it escalated. Compliments turned into curiosity, and you better believe she noticed too. She saw how they laughed at my jokes and how they lingered in conversations with me. At first, Genevieve enjoyed her so-called freedom. She convinced herself she had made the right choice, that she just needed some time to breathe, to figure things out. But the shift in dynamics didn't go unnoticed. Soon, her excitement started turning into unease. She wasn't expecting the changes in me. She thought I'd be sulking, waiting around for her to come back, desperate to prove my worth. Instead, I flipped the script. I had moved on with my life, and that got to her. The first signs of her jealousy were subtle, small, fleeting expressions she tried to mask, but I saw it. The way she tensed up when she caught her friends giggling around me, or when they touched my arm as they laughed at my jokes. The way her best friend started being extra nice to me, complimenting me every chance she got. I wasn't doing anything special, just being me, but better, and it was working. Genevieve noticed. That's when it hit her. She was losing me. The very thing she thought she wanted, distance, was now turning against her. She couldn't help herself. One evening, while I was casually sitting in the living room, she walked in and asked, "How was your day?" Just like that. Simple, casual, as if nothing had happened. I didn't give her what she was looking for. It was good. That's all I said. No details, no enthusiasm, just a neutral response. I kept my tone light but distant, polite but uninterested. I wasn't mean. I wasn't rude, but I made sure she felt the change. She wasn't my priority anymore. I saw it in her face. She was expecting more. She thought I'd light up at the sound of her voice, eager to engage. But that's not how the game worked anymore. I was done playing on her terms. That moment, that was the beginning of her realization. A few days later, she made another attempt. This time, she put in more effort. She started talking to me more. Not just casual small talk, but real conversations. She asked about my plans, commented on my appearance, and dropped hints that she was noticing the new me. Then came the date night suggestion. We should go out sometime. Just us. Dinner maybe. I knew exactly what she was doing. She was trying to ease back in like nothing had happened, expecting me to jump at the opportunity. But I wasn't about to make it that easy. I played it cool. I nodded. Maybe. Let me check my schedule. That answer crushed her. She expected me to agree right away, to be relieved that she was finally coming back. Instead, she had to sit with uncertainty, the same uncertainty she had thrown my way when she asked for space. Then came the dressing up. She started wearing the outfits she knew I liked, fixing her hair, and wearing perfume around the house. Little things, but they were obvious. She wasn't doing it for herself. She was doing it for my attention. And still, I didn't bite. I remained cool, composed, and in control. It didn't take long for her to crack, and when she did, I made sure to remember every detail. One night, she finally said it. The words I knew were coming, but refused to drag out of her. She sat down, looked me straight in the eye, and admitted her mistake. "I think I made a mistake." Her voice was softer now, uncertain. "I don't need space. I need us." I leaned back, letting her words word settle, then gave her the answer I'd been holding on to for months. I gave you space because you asked for it. But now, I'm not sure if I want to go back to how things were. Her face fell. That's when she knew. The power had shifted. I could see the regret in her eyes. She knew. She had played herself. But at that point, it didn't matter anymore. I'm done, I told her, my voice steady. You wanted space. And I realized I deserved someone who never needed it in the first place. And just like that, it was over. I watched as she sat there, stunned, unable to process how the man she thought would always be waiting for her had slipped right through her fingers. The high school sweetheart? A joke. A distraction. He was never serious about her. Just an old flame playing with her emotions, using her to relive the past before heading back to his own life. The separation took months to finalize, but before everything was wrapped up, she confessed to me, I regret it. I regret all of it. But by then, I had already moved on. I was in a better place, with someone who actually valued what I had to offer. And her, she was left alone. So, what do you guys think? Was I wrong for handling it this way? Should I have taken her back after everything? Or was I right to move on? I know some people will say, man, you should have fought for your marriage. But let me ask you, fought for what? For a woman who was ready to toss me aside the second she thought she had a better option. A woman who only realized my value when she saw other women appreciating me. That's not love. That's possession. She didn't want me. She just didn't want to lose me to someone else. And that's a big difference. Let me tell you something I learned the hard way. When a woman says she needs space, she's already made up her mind. She just doesn't have the guts to tell you the full truth. She's not asking for space so she can think. She's asking for space to explore her options without feeling guilty about it. And the moment you start begging, pleading, or trying to convince her otherwise, she loses even more respect for you, because now you're confirming what she already suspects. You're desperate and she can do better. Listen, fellas, if your woman ever hits you with that I need space nonsense, do not chase her. Don't cry. Don't beg. Don't flood her phone with messages about how much you love her. That's exactly what she's expecting you to do. And the moment you do it, you make her decision easier. Instead, give her exactly what she's asking for, but on your terms. Pull back. Work on yourself. Hit the gym. Upgrade your wardrobe. Go out with friends. And make sure she sees you thriving without her. Let her feel the absence of the man she thought she could replace so easily. And here's what's crazy. Once she sees that other women are noticing you, that you're moving forward instead of waiting around, she'll start questioning everything. She'll wonder if she made a mistake. She'll feel that jealousy creeping in, and suddenly, she's the one chasing you. And when that happens, you decide if she's even worth taking back. At the end of the day, this is about self-respect. Don't let anyone treat you like a backup plan. Know your worth, and if someone needs to lose you to realize it, let them lose you for good. So, tell me, what would you have done? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you know someone who needs to hear this, send this video to them. And if you've been through something similar, let me know how you handled it. Until next time, take care and stay sharp. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button and turn on notifications so you never miss more shocking real-life stories like this. See you in the next one.